Here we are. So, in this session we're going to begin a process which is leading up to the first assessment, which is the test on syntactic trees, which I'm sure sounds very exciting to you. The ability to analyse syntax is something which is really a rather specialist field in the study of linguistics, and generally is the favoured method of study by some quite geeky people, let's be honest, but actually it's fantastically useful. It's a cornerstone of how we can analyse the way in which language is used, but it's also a cornerstone in understanding the way in which language can be manipulated and moved around and changed. Now, one of the things that you're going to be doing a lot of during the course of your degree is writing essays in which you write down a sentence, you write down a paragraph, or you write down something, and then you look at it and you say, well, no, that doesn't sound quite right, or it doesn't flow quite well. I wonder if there's a better way in which I could phrase it. Is there a better way in which I can phrase it? Or you might read something and you say, wow, that's really quite good because it's particularly well phrased. Well, that word phrase is really the centre of what we're going to be talking about over the next few weeks, because a phrase is a linguistic unit of study. You can take writing and you can analyse writing in terms of various different components. We take the smallest element of writing, the smallest component of a word which carries meaning. For example, and I used this example in the last video, we've got a book and then we've got books. Now, in the word book, the S on the end of the word changes the meaning of the word. From book means one book, books means two books. Therefore, the word S, the little letter S on the end of that word, carries meaning. It is therefore a meaningful component of the word and is therefore a morpheme. A morpheme is the smallest meaningful component of any written word. We also know, of course, sentences. We know when we write sentences because it starts with a capital letter and it ends with a full stop. So a sentence is a strung out large structure of meanings and combinations of meanings which lead towards some bigger meaning or sense, often far more complex. But sentences themselves are comprised of smaller units of meaning, and those are phrases. Those are phrases. Phrases are meaningful components of groups of words within sentences. And we can understand how a phrase is defined as being either good or bad by understanding that phrases can be shuffled around within sentences, and often one version of that shuffling works very well and one version of that shuffling works less well. Let me give you an example. The man went down the hill. The man went down the hill. Okay, so let's break this sentence down. Let's think, well, there are different things which are going on in this sentence. There is a man, yes, and there is a hill, yes, and between those two there is an action. Went. The man went the hill, down the hill. We've got three parts to that sentence, so we've got three distinct phrases. And we know that they are distinct phrases because actually when you think about it, the man and went and down the hill can be shuffled around. We could, for example, say, down the hill went the man. The man went down the hill, and down the hill went the man. They both make sense. So the man and down the hill can be swapped, and the meaning of the sentence can still stay the same. And that's what tells us, by moving parts of the phrases around, we can see that these words belong together. and they can be moved without changing the sense of the word. We could also actually use a replacement test. We've already used a movement test to demonstrate that there are phrases within this sentence, but we can use a replacement term. The man went down the hill. Well, the man, I've already said that that's a phrase. Could I replace those words? Well, yes, I could. I could replace it with a pronoun. I could say, instead of the man, I could put he. He went down the hill. Works perfectly well. But actually, down the hill, I could even take that. I could get rid of that, and we'll put up with there. He went there. The man can be replaced with he, and down the hill can be replaced with there. They can easily be replaced, and the meaning of the sentence stays the same. So, through the movement test and the replacement test, we've been able to demonstrate that the man is a distinct phrase within the sentence. Went is a distinct phrase within the sentence, and down the hill is a distinct phrase within the sentence. And we've also seen that by understanding those and by applying movement tests and replacement tests, we can work out that actually that sentence, the man went down the hill, can be differently phrased. So understanding that phrasing and analysing that phrasing is really where we're going to be getting to with all this. But before we do anything, we need first, if we want to be able to identify those phrases, we need to be able to make very simple definitions and categories of them. And this means understanding word classes. Some of you, I would imagine, actually probably most of you are quite aware of what word classes are, because most of you, tend to speak more than one language, and when you do speak other languages, you're often thinking about, well, okay, how do I define the feminine, or how do I define the masculine? How do I define the verb or a noun? How do I understand these different things? So it's quite common that we know those word classes. Some of you might not have actually studied word classes at all, but just, let's go with the basic kind of school time divisions of words into nouns, which name things, adjectives, which describe things, and verbs which are doing things. We can actually break down phrases because phrases function in the same way. So, for example, if I were to say that Stephen found mould beneath the bath, we could apply the same kind of movement and replacement tests as the man went down the hill to identify that Stephen found is a phrase, and mould is a phrase, and beneath the bath is a phrase. Stephen found mould beneath the bath. Move them around. Beneath the bath, mould was found by Stephen. Works perfectly well. Stephen found, replace it, he found mould there. It works perfectly well. So we can apply the same tests and identify that there are distinct phrases within this sentence, but those parts of the sentence also have specific functions. Stephen found, it is something that Stephen has done. It is an action. Therefore, it is a phrase which has the function of a verb. It is a verb phrase. Mould is a noun. This is mould. It is a naming word. It is therefore a noun, and it is therefore functioning as a noun phrase. Beneath the bath is describing the noun. Therefore, it is an adjective phrase because it defines the noun. Whereas the mould, it is beneath the bath. Within that, of course, you could say that there is another phrase, because beneath is a preposition. It positions something in place. So within that adjective phrase, you've got a preposition. But the phrase itself has a specific class function within it. What we're going to be looking at in this session is really a little revision, brushing ourselves up on word classes so that we all remember if we've forgotten, or we learn if we've never learned, what the basic word classes are and what they do. And then over this week and next week we're going to be applying those word class categories to identifying specific nouns, phrases, within sentences, leading up to the test, which will be a test of taking a sentence like "the man went down the hill" and diagrammatically demonstrating where the phrases are and what functions the phrases perform. All this to look forward to.